feel like this draft is somewhat similar to the 2017 draft when everyone was busy taking Mitch Trubisky's and Deshaun Watson's and whatnots, and someone named Patrick Mahomes was available for Philadelphia when they selected him 10th overall, and he was like the 25th rated player on the draft board. He was a surprise pick. I don't think the Vikes are obviously going to get a Patrick Mahomes type quarterback. I hope they do, but I don't think they have to give up the farm to get a very good quarterback in this draft.
What do you think of that one, Nordo? Don't have to give up the fizzle to get somebody in the drizzle.
Well, that's why we continue. I continue to be perplexed by it. We're talking about moving up, got to get these guys. We're matching desperation with the Giants. We're matching desperation with the Broncos. Mm-hmm. But then Penix would be just sitting there. And how do you think about that? What does KOC think about that?
Right.
I like the QB killer conversation with Gessling last segment. And that my head hurts from trying to analyze what that gap is between trading up and giving up the farm, as they say, and just sticking and picking, and what the difference is as it pertains to the head coach. So,
if it's subterfuge season, maybe 9 to Noon's version of sending subterfuge is by saying, what if Kevin O'Connell loathes left-handed quarterbacks? That's one way to put it. Or the other way, to fend the challenges of the lazy, picking from others to profit for themselves. What if it was KOC hates left-handed quarterbacks?
Southpaw bias.
See what I'm saying?
He just doesn't like them.
Was it three-chinned announcer's opinion, or did he... Joining us in studio, Ron Johnson, one of the great receivers in the history of Golden Gophers football. I was with Ron and C.J. Ham and wide receivers David Tyree and Matthew Slater at Arise with the Guys this weekend. Tony Dungy, HOF, was there. Ron and I chatting about a lot of biblical-related topics. But during the course of the conversation, as hashtag faith would go, we asked him to come in studio and chat some football because we've heard every single opinion in the world, and we always save our best for last. And Ron is part of the best covenant when it comes to analyzing the NFL draft. At 3Ron Johnson via Twitter. He does a lot of work for Fox 9 at 3Ron Johnson via Twitter. And what a perfect person to assuming you've caught passes from left-handed quarterbacks some point in your life, which you may not have because they are rare, but it's like with left-handed quarterbacks and thinking about, how the ball comes out of the hand and the spin, and is JJ going to be looking at it like a knuckleball if it's Penix Jr.? I mean, I'm
trying to think, yeah.
You never have you?
I don't think I have.
What about even like playing around?
I don't like to play around with left-handed people.
Right.
So
what the hell does that mean?
I just don't. I don't like playing catch with them. They're weird.
Okay.
So here's the thing about it. We've seen the videos where they reverse the left-hander and turn them right-handed on the video with Tua and so on and so forth. They did it with Penix Jr. As well, and it looks fine. So clearly it's just our brains are taught to be right-handed because that's what we are, right-handed people. That's why there's not a lot of left-handed people. If you think about everything in this world, I have a left-handed child. They don't make a lot of left-handed stuff, like scissors and everything. Everything is right-handed. You have to order special stuff for everything.
What are you saying? The size of the holes on the scissors?
Yeah, because your thumb is different, so you flip it. So there's left-handed scissors. There's everything. So there's so much. When we found out, that she was left-handed, it's like, how do I even deal with this? And this is crazy. I made her bat right-handed because I'm like, I don't know how to bat left-handed. So her whole life, up until the 6th grade, she was a right-handed batter.
Okay, but you may have ruined things.
She's a left-handed batter now.
Okay. I was going to say, because left-handers are those of the ambidextrous variety.
Yeah.
I mean, those, like people are always saying, you have Billy or Johnny or Christy or Susie or Antoine and Tamika, make sure they can switch hit.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah, she's left-handed now. She's been for the last year, and she's killing it. And like the girl from LSU, Aaliyah Andrews, who's now a pro, she saw her video on Instagram, and she sent me a message like, oh, yeah, I did the same thing when I was a kid. I switched to left-handed, and she was like, it took me a while, but I got it. And I'm like, man, it took her 3 or 4 months. But she is left-handed, so she batted right, and she's left-handed, but she throws right-handed. So she is ambidextrous. She does everything half and half. But
I'm almost the same way. I write left-handed. My dominant foot when I played soccer is left-handed. I use scissors and forks and everything left-handed.
What do you drink?
But I drink left hand, yeah.
Okay.
But I hit and bat and throw right-handed.
Wow.
Or golf. I golf right-handed.
You're special.
I don't know why that is.
So did that just happen, or did you have to work on it?
That's what felt right at the time, and
Wow.
I just never changed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why my ceiling, which was abundantly apparent in Southern California with basketball, was junior college, Pasadena City College. No left, didn't work on it that much in high school, didn't care about it, just wanted to shoot from Caitlin Clark range, and that will be a cutoff for those advancing in sports.
Yeah.
Specifically basketball.
Right.
It's like, I ain't kidding you, man. I mean, I was a junior in high school, and we had a really good team. Tracy Murray, who was the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Pac-10, maybe 12, played for the Rockets, won a title. You know, he played on our team. And we got close to winning a championship my senior year. So we were stacked. If we're stacked, your boy's playing 8 minutes max. But I lost all 8 of those minutes when there was this cat named Scott Mulder, who was a sophomore. He broke his right wrist in practice. So he spent the entire season at practice dribbling with his left hand. Cool. We get together next year. Guess who's behind Scott Mulder because I got no left?
Yeah, you got to have
can somebody break my wrist so I have no choice but to work on this thing?
I mean, look at LeBron James last night. He kept going right.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like he doesn't want to drive left sometimes. And so, I mean, but think about the NFL. The left tackle gets paid the most money because the majority of the quarterbacks, that's their blind side.
Right.
So now if you draft a left-handed quarterback, you have to have a really good right tackle because now that is the quarterback's blind side. So there's a lot of little things like that I've been talking to different scouts about. You know, like if you do draft a left-handed quarterback, do you flip Christian Darrisaw? You can't. He's a left tackle.
Right.
So then you got to pray Brian O'Neill, and he is good.
Yeah.
But he's going to be able to protect the blind side because that's now the spot where the quarterback can't look.
Yeah.
Same with your receivers. Do you put JJ? The majority, Jefferson, not McCarthy.
You got to flip the whole thing.
Yeah. Do you put him on the strong side of that quarterback to make sure they're and it's not always a thing, but we just know, like, you watched the Michigan-Washington game. I don't know if you watched it. My cousin plays for Michigan, and so
of course he
does. He's a safety. And so when you watch that game, and I talked to him about it, I was like, what did Penix do that you guys could figure out? And he was like, there were small little tails here and there because he's left-handed. Like he was kind of leading us to where he's going to go with the ball. He was showing us what dominant side he wanted to throw to. He actually likes throwing across his body, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But
with your cousin, now is this like your blood cousin or one of those friends that's my cousin?
No. I grew up with him. I mean, I got pictures when he was 3. He was born. His mom is my favorite cousin. So my mom and his mom are first cousins. Our grandparents are brother and sister. So his granddad and my grandma are brother and sister. God rest both their souls. They passed away. But yeah, he was number 7. He is number 7 for Michigan. He's coming back for his 5th year. He decided to come back.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's doing it the right way. He could have transferred and went to any other school. He sat behind, not behind, but, split time with 3 other safeties because Michigan's good. And I thought he should have transferred to Minnesota, but he didn't want to. Of course he would have probably went to somewhere else, Notre Dame. I mean, he had offers from everybody, but he stayed and did it the right way. And he's won, I think, 2 or 3 national championships, but he said Penix, he kind of gave it away a little bit with just his body motion of a lefty. And I'm not saying it's just because he's a lefty. Like, there's a lot of guys that give it away.
So you're an elite Michigan defensive mind is what I'm being led to believe, right?
I don't know about
personnel.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, because I'm glad you said that because like Chris Jenkins Jr. All right. We don't have any picks on Friday. He's going to be a Friday guy. I love him. I loved his dad.
I played against his dad. We were in the same draft class. Yeah.
2000? Oh, no, 2002. Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't saying that Junior's going to be as good as Senior.
Right.
Senior was the bomb for a minute for Carolina.
Yep.
But I like Junior.
Yeah.
But he falls in that abyss where we don't have picks. So it's I can't remember the cat's name, man. I always Colson, Junior. Yeah, what was my man's name?
Yeah, Junior Colson.
Yeah, Junior Colson. He wore like 25 or something. He was like a hybrid Shaq Thompson linebacker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. Yep. And he was a junior last year, but he's coming into the draft. But I mean, like I've completely forgotten about him because we've been so focused on quarterbacks and stuff like that. But like there's a guy who I think somebody's going to get a really good player, and I have no idea where he's going to be drafted. It feels like Saturday. What did ESPN's Jordan Reed have to say with your most recent Locked on Sports Minnesota podcast?
Nothing nobody's seen. And one thing I wanted to get out of him, is there anything in the hallways of ESPN that he can kind of say is kind of the the big talker when they walk around the hall, and everybody's big talker is Kevin O'Connell. I wouldn't say they think he's a QB killer. They look at what he did with Josh Dobbs, and they also look at what he did with Jaron Hall and those, that short four play stint before he got a concussion. And then even Nick Mullins, getting some 400-yard games out of him. When you think about his ability to get the best out of those guys in a short amount of time and being able to groom a guy, the other thing, too, is there's not a guarantee the guy they draft, and so Vikings fans have to relax in this, that he's going to play week one. Mm-hmm. Because if it's J.J. McCarthy,
I don't think they'll play the entire
Drake
year.
May, whoever it might be. Remember, Patrick Mahomes did not play until Alex Smith got hurt.
Wow.
That's what a lot of people forget. Alex Smith was the starter for the Chiefs. And Mahomes would have sat probably the whole year unless the Chiefs just stunk it up. Mm-hmm. You look at RG3. Did they play him too soon? He tweets now, what's his name? Gruden didn't know what to do with him, and you didn't have plays for me, Jay. So was he rushed into the fire without having a game plan around a guy of RG3's caliber and the plays that he could run? We saw that beef on Twitter. And then you think about Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love being able to sit behind guys, and now, quote unquote, we think the Packers have their guy. So I think for Vikings fans too, it can't be one of those. I mean, Bryce Young got thrown in too soon. I think Sam Darnold should have played the entire year and let Bryce Young sit behind him so he can learn the game, because he just looked overwhelmed. It moved way faster than he was used to. When you think about Alabama's offense and what they do, you have to find a guy. Kevin O'Connell's going to find a guy that does similar things. And honestly, Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, I remember the Drake May versus the Gophers game. He is really patient. And this is what PJ Fleck said. Really patient, doesn't have happy feet, but if he has to run, he can run. And I think, and same with J.J. McCarthy. Those are two guys. And again, I mean, we know Daniels. I just don't know if Daniels is going to make it out of two.
Right.
Like everybody keeps saying Daniels, but if the Commanders don't take him,
I'd be shocked.
Then Snyder somehow got back into the building and he's helping them make these picks. So I just think it's going to be one of the guys we've been talking about.
Yep.
But it's not a guarantee they're starting week one.
All right, so with your podcast, Locked on Sports Minnesota, where can people find episodes?
They just go on YouTube and search Locked on Sports Minnesota.
Locked on Sports Minnesota.
Yep. If you just go on YouTube, you can find it on there. And then it pops up every time. I do one every Tuesday. So every Tuesday I get a guy. I had Brian McKinney on. We got Fred Smoot coming. Which I was a little bit nervous about that one. Fred's a good guy though. So
Fred's funny as bleep.
Yeah, he's funny as heck. So and then we, of course Jordan Reed, and then we're following up with Matthew Slater later. We're gonna have Matthew because he was at the deal, and same thing. And I know we talked about this. You heard us in there talking about it too. But even for him, he joked about Kevin O'Connell and their relationship, and him texting the guys or calling Mayo or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit tongue in cheek. But there's always truth in the joke, and I think people forget that. Like their infrastructure with the Patriots aren't built to have a quarterback right now. They could ruin some kid's life. Wow. Why do it right now?
But they could use Jacoby Brissett, and they could say that's our version of Sam Darnold. And Brissett, Brissett. I mean,
but they have to draft like 3 more receivers. They need a running back. Yep. They need a couple defense. They have a lot of stuff they need to deal with.
And Mayo's a defensive-minded guy,
correct?
So he's gonna maybe not at 3, but. See, with New England, if they get 11 and 23, that kind of falls perfectly into what Mayo, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can hold somebody hostage all they want. But, I mean, the defensive players available at 11, right up Gerard Mayo's alley.
100%.
And then you do whatever you want at 23, or you manipulate with whatever picks you have to get up and get whomever you want. And maybe they dig left-handed quarterbacks.
So let me ask this, though, is as Vikings fans, we're under the mindset that because if you're giving up picks to move up, and Ron, you'd agree with this, just basically, it's easier if you get your franchise QB, the other stuff you can figure out later. Would you agree in some sense with that mindset? Like if they love their guy, go up and get him, right?
For the Vikings or the Patriots?
For the Vikings.
For the Vikings, yeah. It makes sense because you have an infrastructure of guys.
But it's because of the system. And
correct.
So when you were talking about like Carolina, what an awful system that they had around him.
Frank Wright never wanted Bryce Young. That was the owner.
It was the owner?
Yeah, it was the owner. He wanted Anthony Richardson.
He wanted Richardson.
I think so. Because if you think about what he did with Peyton Manning and what type of offense they were going to run, it was either CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. My guess it was Stroud first. But yeah, I don't truly believe he was dead set on Bryce Young. I think that Heisman kind of blinded the owner, and they really just push for that. And we've seen that before with owners like Jerry Jones, just pushing for the guy they want versus letting the coach pick their guy.
So in this particular case, then getting back to New England, there is an argument you think where the Patriots are just so bad that the cupboards are so bare that even being able to, without move picks, where the Vikings are leveraging future drafts, that it is so bad that sitting at 3 and just taking a QB could actually be a bad thing with all of the other opportunities that they have to move back and add bodies?
I personally believe that. Look at Mac Jones. Like, I think Mac Jones under Kevin O'Connell probably has a better season with JJ, TJ, and what's his name, Addison. Like, I just think you have to have an offense set for a quarterback to be able to thrive. You can't just throw guys to the fire and say, go out here and be great. Like, look at Brock Purdy. And I'm not going off the Cam Newton things, but Cam Newton has a point. Look at Brock Purdy. Like, Brock Purdy went to a great situation, and that's why he is who he is. If you put a number of quarterbacks in Brock Purdy's shoes that are decent, good quarterbacks that were rookies, I'm pretty sure they have similar success. You know, like, but you have to have that guy. Like, because people say, what about Trey Lance? Trey Lance got hurt. You know, like, that was the other part about it. Trey Lance wasn't healthy. So, and I don't know if he is that guy or not. North Dakota State, you know, didn't play a lot of top competition, so on and so forth. Carson Wentz did go there and
played
was
like
good.
one game in almost 2 years, too.
Right.
So just a weird situation for
very
him.
weird. Like, and because we all wanted him here in Minnesota because he's a Minnesota kid, but it's like, do we just want him because he's a Minnesota kid, or do we truly believe he's still good? And I think that's the question for it. But I think if you're the Patriots, and like PA was saying, if you could go get Dallas Turner at 11, you can go get another cornerback like Kool-Aid McKinstry at 23, or another D tackle. Like,
sure.
you could actually start to get that Patriots way defense back, because Tom Brady never really had a ton of weapons until he got Randy Moss. Like, he always just had guys that were really good, and Tom made them good. I just don't think a rookie can make a bunch of guys good. And that's the other problem, is like, you can't expect your rookie to come in and say, hey, turn everybody, like, be Tom Brady for us. You're not going to get that right away.
Hey, with locally with the Golden Gophers, Tyler Nubin, what type of pro do you think he'll be?
Antoine Winfield. I mean, that pedigree
he's going to go on Friday.
That pedigree of defense, probably. Yeah, I talked to him at the spring practice, if you want to call it. We had an alumni day, and he said all the teams have been telling him, you know, late 20s to 50s. I think is what he was saying. So, like, that's, late first round if somebody wants to jump and leapfrog and say we got to get him at 30, or day 2 guy, up into the 50s. But yeah, I mean, he has the same mindset, system, learning experience as Antoine Winfield. When I say Antoine Winfield, I mean is the ability to pick up the defense and play strong or free. I mean, this kid he's almost my height. He's about 6'1", 6'2". He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can catch the ball.
Does Joey King dunk on him at Lifetime?
Nope, he sure doesn't.
All right.
Tyler can jump. Tyler, I think what he had, a 40 or 38-inch vertical. But this kid is really smart. You watch him sideline to sideline, all his highlights. He's making the play. I talked to him about the Northwestern game where he gave up that touchdown. He admitted it. He got too greedy. He tried to jump the under route, and they went right behind him with the post. And so when you think about that, all the stuff he's learned, he can play free, and he can also play strong because he can come up and make a tackle. So he's a guy, like, I don't know if he's as good of a cover guy. Like, Antoine Winfield is a special player. He can cover you in the slot. He can play deep. He can play strong. He can play nickel. Tyler's not that, but he can play strong or free. So I honestly, I wish the Vikings had a day 2 pick, or at least they might. Because Tyler Nubin
I'd rather have Chris Jenkins Jr. than him.
Predecessor. Well, if you have multiple. Yeah. He could be the predecessor.
And that's nothing against
to
Tyler.
Harrison Smith.
Yeah, it's more of a...
no, Chris Jenkins as a detail. I said that if they could get Jerron Newton...
Oh, Jerzon Newton?
Out of Illinois. If you watch the Illinois-Minnesota game, he didn't play in the first half, and the Gophers were doing fine.
That's my only That's my only reference with him, because I had no idea who he was.
Oh, yeah. We
Got
knew.
PJ every Monday. I'm watching that game, and they're talking about this Newton.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Who is this?
He's a beast.
And he's suspended. Oh, okay. Well, it wasn't bad, but nevertheless. So then he came in.
You do something in the game, he gets kicked out. You got to be suspended the next game.
I'm like, bro, when did a combo platter of Gerald McCoy and Fletcher Cox don a jersey in Champaign?
Right.
And
he's a beast.
That's what he reminded me of.
He's a beast. He's quick. He's strong. So if you think about that with Tyler Nubin, he's a guy that could be a franchise safety for 10 years for a team, and that's where I think he's gonna. He said he doesn't know. He said he visited like 15 teams, but he's good. He's really good, and he's not a cover guy like Antoine, but he's a true safety.
Okay. Why is it? Why is it you love J.J. McCarthy's eyes? as much as you do.
Yeah, so if you watch, like, I'm a Michigan kid, grew up, born and raised, Tony Dungy and I, you heard us telling the story about
Martin Luther King High School,
how
though.
Lloyd Carr still calls me a bad name to this day because of Tony Dungy. Like, Tony Dungy's the reason I ended up here. Lloyd Carr said Tony either paid me something or promised me a job later when I was done playing football, whatever. Lloyd loves to joke. But when I watch Michigan football, I grew up with it. J.J. McCarthy, he didn't throw a lot. That Penn State game, he didn't throw in the second half at all. I watched that and I was bored to death. And I thought about it later and I said, you know what? This is more of a Jim Harbaugh being suspended Jim Harbaugh, being suspended. So Sherrone Moore doesn't know what to do. He's like, look, let's just run the ball. We have two great running backs, NFL guys.
That guy was the bomb
Donnie
after
Edwards,
winning games, and he cried in press conferences.
Watching Donnie Edwards when he was little because him and my cousin are
the
teammates.
Chiefs?
No, Donovan Edwards, the running back for Michigan.
Bad.
That's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But
there's a Donnie Edwards who played for the Chiefs. But anyway, yeah,
they were high school teammates. They played for Ron Bellamy. Ron Bellamy now is the receivers coach at Michigan. And so when you watch J.J. McCarthy again, I've texted Ron Bellamy this too because he's a receivers coach. I'm like, what does he do that people haven't seen? And he's like, he has the ability to see the defense, pick out a mismatch, and go after it.
Yeah.
And that's more of Jim Harbaugh teaching him that. And he can run when we need him to, is what he said. But he said we also have two NFL running backs. So we're going to run the ball. He said his receivers get pissed. Like literally, Roman Wilson would be pissed. They go in the red zone. He's like, look, I got man. Throw me the fade. And they're running outside zone with these two runners. So there's a lot of stuff they took out of JJ's hands because they're like, we got an offensive line that can maul anybody. Yeah. And watch what they did to Alabama, and we have two running backs. So I think J.J. McCarthy is just a guy that benefited from a good running game, but also is going to get knocked down because of a good running game. And so his eyes, he can see if that play Ben Lieber posted, he recognized right away they split Donnie Edwards out into the slot. He saw the linebackers were confused at who was going to cover a man. He picked it out. He kept the safety in the middle of the field and then threw a dime to a running back.
Yeah, 7.
You can't throw a deep ball to a running back. Other than, we saw Alexander Madison do it, but it's not a lot of running backs that can do that.
Right.
And so him to be able to pick out that mismatch and put it at a place a running back can make that catch. We know CJ Ham, he has short arms. So you can't overthrow him. You got to throw it to his breadbasket.
Aaron Jones, though,
and that's Aaron Jones, and that's what and he's a good pass receiving running back, and that's what JJ McCarthy does that I've seen is he has the ability to keep a safety where he needs him to be. But again, it's hardball, and I think Kevin O'Connell is similar.
Can the Minnesota Timberwolves go bang bang and get game 2 tonight? We'll hit that around the corner with RJ Ron Johnson, a longtime card carrying member of the Love Covenant. But first.
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Use the keyword cash at KFAN.com. You might win $1,000. Use the keyword cash at KFAN.
He'll give it back to Durant against Gobert up top. Rudy poked it free. Durant's got it. Then he strips him. And on a breakaway, a two-handed slam. Edwards, 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. And it registers his second steal of the night, a breakaway slam that may have sealed the deal. Timberwolves up by 20 with 3:37 left to go in game 1.
Tonight, 6:30, KFAN. Home team go bang bang. That'd be you, Ron.
Oh, I thought
All right,
you were
3-2.
saying it to the world. My
Okay,
bad.
I'm going to take it off the MTV. I forgot because we haven't had you in studio in a little bit. And when I have the MTV live channel on, because I like
There's
to
a
watch people
blimp on
dance.
MTV.
There was more than a blimp. Okay, so all right, 3-2. You think the home team 6:30 KFAN goes bang bang, goes up 2-0, and good morning.
I do. I also think there's a narrative with these refs. And I don't know if you saw the LA Lakers game.
LeBron tripped out after. He even got after the control center.
Did you watch it though? Like
No.
so D'Lo gets hit in the face on the layup. You know me, I hate the face. Like you can hit my body, bang me, do
Look
whatever.
at your
Don't hit me
face.
in the face.
Yeah.
It's just because you can break a nose, cut an eye out.
Look at your face.
So D'Lo goes for a layup.
Mm-hmm.
The Kobe rule, and you remember this. If I land and you're under me, or I kick my leg out and you kick my leg away, it's a foul, even
Right.
if the ball's gone. Because that's the whole. Like you got to give him. So he gets basically like elbowed, arm barred across the face, like the old Oakland Raiders, you know. And
Jack Tatum.
Exactly. And so when you think about that, they said the ball had left his hand already on the layup, so the hit to the face was inadvertent.
Oh, wow.
And the arm grab was marginal.
Oh, wow.
And-
Against LeBron?
Against, so the Nuggets had got called for the foul. The
Yeah.
Nuggets challenged.
I see.
It was against D'Lo.
Yeah.
D'Lo,
D'Lo, my bad.
D'Lo went for the layup.
Yep,
LeBron's
gotcha.
pissed because he's like,
I got you.
we're up 10. If he gets this foul,
Yeah.
he gets to make two
D'Lo ain't
shots.
getting
We're
that
up
call.
12. Correct. Now, granted, they gave up a 20-point lead. So when I look at the Timberwolves, one, I just hope it's a big enough lead that the refs can't get involved. Because we do know they want money. They wanted to be a close series. They wanted to go to 7. We wanted to be a sweep. We know that.
Yeah.
You watch Anthony Edwards, he is the second coming of Michael Jordan. Like his ability to change the game, his ability to get to
Come
his
on,
spot,
Ron.
his ability to cook. And Jordan even said this. He's a better three-point shooter at this point in his career than
Yeah.
Jordan was in his first 2 or 3 years.
He is only 22.
So Anthony Edwards, I mean, in the one play we all saw, Kevin Durant goes underneath the pick, bad choice. Anthony Edwards sees space, hits the 3, and then yells at him, this is my, blah, blah, blah house, like, blah, blah, whatever, old man, XYZ. That's the difference in what a lot of people haven't seen since Kobe Bryant, is a kid willing to say, I don't care who you are, I'm going to go at you. And that's why the Timberwolves have a special thing. And yes, I think they can go up 2-0. They are going to have to go to Phoenix. They might lose one there. They go up 3-1. They come home and finish in 5. I think that's where the story goes.
Also with this game this evening, not only with from an officiating standpoint, but like you as a high end receiver for the Gophers, and I've referenced this before, like with Ohio State, Nate Clements, okay, super high end corner. All right, well, corners and wide receivers have been known to talk trash with each other. So, what was the exchanges between Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant? KD thought the whole thing was funny.
Yeah,
it's
is.
game 1. They're getting killed. And it's like, I know that you grew up idolizing me and wanting to be me. And look, you look pretty much like me right now.
Yeah.
He thought surrogate big brother thought it was super cute and super funny what surrogate little brother was doing until they almost got beat by 30 or whatever they got beat by.
Right.
What'd you think of that whole exchange?
Yeah, that was the face of like, we're about to go to Paris and win a gold medal because of this kid. Like, that's his teammate. He knows that. He's like, even if I have to go fishing after this and I'm in Cancun for the rest of the playoffs, I know that we head to Paris. We have Michael Jordan's little son. Like, has anybody seen Anthony Edwards' dad? No. It's Michael Jordan. Do we know where Mike was 22 years ago? No. Juanita Jordan doesn't even know.
What?
That's why they're divorced.
What?
So we know that's a possibility. Atlanta, Georgia? Come on. That's Mike's spot.
Close to Charlotte.
So, but when you think about the way this is going and Kevin Durant, that's just competitors. Like that's like I get so sick of these refs sometimes seeing those exchanges and calling the T. Like, let these guys be hoopers. Like, that's what you do. You know that. We play in the little men's league, and we're talking trash to dudes that are in their 50s.
You didn't let anybody else on the team be a hooper because you shot it every single time because you were the best player in the gym.
I just made sure to drive to the lane when I knew I had a guy that was like 50 with a new hip. But if I saw the hip surgery scar, I'm like, okay, I'm going on him. But yeah, it's fun. This is all fun. Anthony Edwards knows, though, it's his team. And I'm glad Karl Anthony Towns understands that. He can't be on the floor whining to the refs. He can't be on the floor crying for the ball. And don't do what LeBron did. When you go up 20, don't get involved in the game. Like, that's LeBron's mistake. Anthony Davis had 30 in the first half. You don't stop and start trying to. Yeah, he was killing it.
Wow.
He had 35.
And Joker had like 26 and 20 rebounds.
He had like 35 with like 6 minutes to go in the third.
Oh, Lordy.
And then LeBron said, oh, shoot, I can probably get 15 assists tonight. So he takes over, becomes point forward, and starts wanting to run the pick. And you're not quick enough anymore. Like, I had a revelation in the car thinking about don't look in the mirror because it's going to tell you something that you really don't feel. Like, if I look in the mirror, I see gray hair, gray beard. I'm like, dang, I am 44 plus, 45. But do I feel like it? No, I can still go hoop. So for LeBron, he's trying not to look in the mirror. He might need to look in the mirror. Like, the fact that you get touched on the top of the head and you worried about your wig coming off, like, you're not what you were 10 years ago. Pass the ball. Let D-Lo be the pick and pop guy.
Okay.
And you play what you play, which is all over the floor.
I want to finish with this 4.5 minutes. You get it all. And I think you're going to take it all. And here's why. FedEx just dropped $5 million into Memphis Athletics, helping football, basketball, and women's sports and the old NIL. As a Gophers alum who takes a lot of pride, puts in a lot of time with the alma mater, does this frustrate you?
Okay, I'm not going to curse. Heck yes, it does. Yeah, it does. Because, I mean, we're living in a state with General Mills, Target, Best Buy, Land O'Lakes. We have some of the best 3M. We have some of the best, biggest Fortune 500 companies in the state. I'm not saying $5 million from one of them. I'm saying you guys give a ton of money to charity. Great organizations. Like, I've been a part of Best Buy. I work with them. I've been a part of General Mills. I've been a part, like, Post Brands. I know their CFO. I bought them to a Vikings game. Like, there's a lot of companies like that. And I will say, Post Brands and I have talked. We have a plan for next year with some of these players. Like, we were going to do it this year, but it got kind of weird.
Does the university know you're doing that, or is just that's just out
the
the
university and NIL are not 1-1?
Oh,
they can advise.
Okay,
they can tell kids like this is a good brand.
Yeah,
they can't push a kid to a brand or push a brand to a kid.
I see.
They can allow that brand to have access to their logo, and so I've
it's
talked
kind
to
of like if you want to help, by all means.
Correct. Yeah, because that's my job. I do marketing, I do branding, and so I talk to Post Brands, and I sat down with their CFO and their CGO, their chief growth officer, and we've talked about this. And so I gave them a list of players. I've actually texted these players as well. I talked to them last week. They all like the idea. It's a marketing idea. There's a lot of stuff to it, but you can still get bang for your buck. I'm not saying just give $1 million and walk away. You're going to get access to these guys like a Drake Lindsay in a year or two when he's one of the top quarterbacks in the Big Ten.
What about Willie Howard's kid?
Or Jackson Howard, you know what I mean? One of the best, Minnesota prospects we've seen.
Wow.
So when you think about that, you think about like a Tyler Nubin having access to put him in your commercial, in your brand, in your store for a signing or an autograph signing. There is stuff to this. But I think if they each were to say, hey, we'll all give $100,000, they give more than that than to like anything. They give more than that than the trip to the Bahamas for their CEOs. So if you do $100,000 just early gift from all these different companies, we're at $1 million. You now change it up and say, hey, let's give $200,000. We saw a return on our investment.
Jackson Howard, defensive end.
Yeah.
So now,
outside linebacker.
Okay, so his first season when he has 11.5 sacks and starts thinking about moving to Notre Dame.
He's like Grenard.
Well, now you got some money to offset it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's like Grenard. Like Jackson Howard, you could put him in front of a brand and say that, or the quarterback. Target is here. You could have the quarterbacks throw footballs at the targets for the commercial.
Brilliant.
Like, I mean, there's so much you can do with these players.
So fast.
And say, like, the on-target quarterback of the game or whatever play of the game is. And it's him throwing a dot to Daniel Jackson for a touchdown. There's a lot you can do. And so at the end of the day, and Daniel Jackson, man, like, I don't know, like no Diddy, but he's an attractive young man. Like,
what's no Diddy? Oh, no. Oh, as in.
I'm not Diddy.
I'm not Diddy. Man.
I'm not Diddy.
Jeez.
I'm not texting you at night to come have a drink with me at 2 a.m.
Yeah, and we're not going to play more than 19 seconds of Justin Bieber and lose our jobs.
Right.
All right.
But when you think about that, like, Daniel Jackson could be like on the front of Target's, ad for whatever. So that's the thing. It's like there are some guys that would be great additions to this brand for them, different brands. But yeah, they got to step up. FedEx is making Memphis and Penny Hardaway, an offer he can't refuse. I don't see why UPS or some of these other brands here can't do it.
You're the best, my man.
No, appreciate you.
I'll see you Thursday at US Bank Stadium.
Oh yeah,
okay?
draft party, Miller Lite. Make sure you guys are there.
Yep,
We're
for sure.
Some giveaways. We're gonna have some fun.
God bless you, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
Ron Johnson at 3 Ron Johnson via Twitter, and once again the old podcast is Locked on Sports Minnesota. That's where you can find it via YouTube. Don't leave.
I can't wait.
What's up, players? Give up the farm. Give up everything that you can to get this quarterback. Our fan base is a bunch of sissies who think that they can just go the cheap route and go in the middle of the first round and find some guy, some Joe Schmo, whatever. Get whoever JJ wants so that they can team up for the next 10 years. Just do whatever you can to get this guy. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Do whatever you can. I'm with you. Here's your talk back of the day, brought to you by Anthony.
We need this quarterback. So who cares if we move up and what capital we give up? We need a quarterback that'll be with this team for the next 10 to 15 years. Sick of seeing Green Bay having quarterbacks for 20 plus years. It's our time. Give up what you can to get what you can now.
Thank you, Anthony. You're getting a pair of passes. Miller Lite Vikings draft party on Thursday night. Pep's Draft House Pizza also in the mix for all of our local KFAN coverage. But thanks for all those talkbacks today. Heavy on the talkbacks today with some talkback topics. And they were hot, PA, weren't they?
Well, yes, and they were consistent, and it began with fans howling for the Minnesota Timberwolves this evening. That would include the host and the producer of 9 to Noon.
Have you recovered from that howl yet?
Barely. I have an imbalance again, but some would say I've had it all my life. Now, regarding the draft party and regarding the draft at US Bank Stadium, Lavelle Neal III, columnist, Star Tribune, he's ballyhooed. He is going to be there's going to be a panel discussion at the draft party. Mike Mussman from the Vikings Radio Network and K102, and Ron Johnson, who just was in studio 9 to Noon. There is a panel discussion involving Lavelle Neal III, columnist for the Star Tribune, who, by the way, is ballyhooed, Mike Mussman with Vikings Football Sunday and K102, and RJ from Fox 9. Ron Johnson, they're going to be discussing the Minnesota Vikings' first pick in the draft, and assumedly this will take place well in advance of the draft commencing at 7 o'clock. So,
so is that, do we know if that's on stage in terms of,
great question.
So details still to come, but that's going to be cool. It's always, and we kind of switched it up last year, so I'm glad you guys are back on the big stage again, but how much, when you go to that draft party, there's 1,000 things to freaking do, and you'll have the chance then ultimately 6:30 p.m. when people settle down, post bumper to bumper, and it's a half hour, and it's the build-up.
I'm predicting
heartbreak, and then boom, the bell rings, and you're on the clock. It's going to be awesome.
I'm predicting I will be home and cooled out by 9 p.m. Home and cooled out by 9 or 9:15 p.m. Getting preparing for the Friday football feast at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. That's where the radio show will be on Friday. And assumedly, Kevin O'Connell and or Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah will join for that Friday extravaganza. Once the draft is over, all right, once the draft is over and media, the negatives, yours truly, whomever, starts getting access to assistant coaches, that's when something that has excited me since I was at the Combine and I heard the Minnesota Vikings hired Josh McCown. It's going to be yours truly and Josh McCown sitting down for a segment.
Yeah.
And we're going to cut up. Here it is. The season's on the line. I say something to him. 2 receivers left and right. Me to him for reaction. McCown takes the snap. He steps up. So we're going to break it up into like 5 or 6 parts, with the quarterback who broke the hearts in his rookie year from Sam Houston State and made it happen, and the announcer in his second year doing play-by-play for the Minnesota Vikings. We might even have a cameo from David Pohl or Nathan Poole. But that
some football forensics with the highlight.
That football forensics, love it. So that's going to take place down the road. So we have a lot of fun things coming your way. Can't you just tell by the excitement in our voices? And we thank you very much for bringing us excitability today with those talkbacks and knowing you're out there listening. End of the equation, we serve you. You choose to listen to us, thus we serve you. And we thank you very much for listening to us whenever you do. I'm Paul Allen. Here comes Nordo, the producer, to put that patented wrap on the show.
And thanks to Casey's for bringing you the 9 to noon show wraps, whether it's Casey's Rewards, food and fuel deals, it's pizza. Oh, it's so good at Casey's. It is the season of subterfuge, chance of rain on draft parties like a deluge, reading hieroglyphics trying to find clues. We're moving on up, betting the farm like you can't lose. But who will you choose? Write the big check. If you're wrong, it's like an anchor right around your neck. Jets and Sharks fans are split, so political on what to do in these scenarios. We're all pitiful. You're wrong if you don't take a swing. No, BPA, don't overcomplicate things. Wait, we need guys. Just trade back. Actually, trade JJ. Send him to the Cards on Amtrak. See, the answer's easy, so don't feel pinned down. Just check the direction of the wind now. This guy, that guy, verbal Viking to the death. 3 days from now, we can all take a breath.
Aggregator's gone. Shh.
Number 3.
Don't tell anybody.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.